You ready?
I think so. Hang on. Let me get situated.
Okay.
Maybe my shelves will fall on me. Damn it, totalitarianism has a very good chance of taking over the world, but then climate change will kill us all anyway, so our suffering will be short-lived. I'm probably going to have to go back to slinging cappuccinos. I wasted my
Yeah, so anyway, you get it. I don't want to play the whole thing, but, this guy, I found him. I didn't find it. Like, I found him. Like, oh, I've discovered him. But no, I ran onto him, like, back in the day. It was like 05-ish, something like that. And I noticed his drawing, what he was doing on YouTube and stuff. I think it was actually MySpace at that time.
What's his name?
Lev.
Lev?
Yeah. And so what he does, it's pretty cool. He tells a story, but he takes the medium and he'll have it lit from the back and he'll draw as he tells the story.
Okay.
It was a unique way of art and conversation. I really liked it.
That is really cool.
So it just goes to tell you that, I mean, this guy right here, whenever I first ran onto him, I was like, this guy's gonna be big. Somebody's gonna find him, and he's very creative.
Yeah.
But then it's like, wait a minute, he is big. He's big. I mean, he's doing great things for himself. Where am I thinking here? But I always wondered what happened to Lev, and I actually just recently moved, and I found these books that I had ordered from him a long time ago, and it has like the cartoons and everything on there and the drawings.
Yeah.
But it came with a DVD. And that's how you watched his stuff.
Oh, wow.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
Turns out the guy's still doing it.
That's so cool. So this is his YouTube channel here.
Yeah.
The Tales of Mere Existence.
Yeah, I hope everybody checks it out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really interesting guy.
It looks like he has a lot of great stuff. It's all very relatable, the topics
Yeah.
he's talking about.
He's it's like a cynical look at life. I mean, it's just in general of everything that's happening around. It's just his way of expressing himself. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad you showed me that.
Yeah. So anyway, in my spare time, that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Is find stupid, weird stuff like that people don't normally find, and so I can pretend like I'm cool in my own head.
I like to watch mystery and makeup.
Mystery and makeup. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got a little taste of that earlier.
Yeah, you introduced me to that. So she puts on makeup and tells a story.
Tells a story, yeah. About usually like a true crime story or some kind of mystery that's never been solved or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's a weird world we live in now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, the combinations of like niches that we're coming up with, like who would think to pair true crime and putting on makeup? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but then when you think about it, maybe it does.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she has the followers.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah.
That's one thing I love about social media. I know people hate social media. I don't like what people sometimes turn social media into, which is a bitch fest.
Yeah,
And,
drama. Tons of drama.
And I do it too. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, it happens.
You know, that's
I genuinely think that the internet sometimes brings out the worst in us, but sometimes it can bring out the best in you too. But you see things from people and you're like, they would never say this in real life. They would never act like that, or like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ability to be anonymous without being anonymous, but yet here we are. I know who you are, and I know that you said that, and I just saw you in the store.
Right.
You know,
but, is that really
but are you
going
to come say that to me?
Yeah.
You know, it's anyway. That's coming from a negative standpoint, but on a positive standpoint, I find it rather interesting. You know, I love social media. I have from the very beginning, and it's a way of connecting.
Yeah.
You know, there are trends and fads and all of that people go with and do and certain things, but it's really neat to find people that are unique and they're being themselves.
Right.
And it's not just looking at dirt, you know, it's actually something cool, but
there's a lot of depth there.
Or cool, I want to say cool, but interesting, you know, just a different look at life.
Yeah. It's definitely a resourceful tool. Absolutely. Just got to be careful with it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do when you start actually really arguing with family members and friends?
Yeah.
You know, it's too far.
Yeah.
I've actually been, it wasn't really an altercation, but it was a little bit of an argument, and I was very surprised at what was going on. I was in a coffee shop, and before all of this, whatever is going on now in the universe with COVID and aliens and whatever else, and the politics. Oh my God, politics. Anyway, you know, he started getting into it with me at the coffee shop, and before then we're just buds. You know, just go in there and get some coffee, shoot the shit. But this time he got heated over some politics that I really didn't have very much clue of because I don't follow that much. I do, but I don't. And I just had to stop and say, look, dude, we're friends. Put the Facebook, everything away, and you give me a hug right now. And we did.
That's so awesome.
You know,
I love that. That's my favorite story I've heard all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. We have to remember that.
Right.
We're human beings. We're not the little fat blobs that are on, what was the movie, Wall-E, and we can run around with our little screens. Yeah, something is wanting us to turn into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we need to realize that we are not that. We're humans, and we need to keep that connectivity. Wow, really went down a long path there.
We really did.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not like an experienced alcohol consumer.
Yeah, me either.
I wouldn't even consider.
No clue.
Yeah.
I have friends that distill their own moonshine for tinctures, for making their own tinctures.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, like they're just sitting there talking about the purity and the density, and they've got their little float things.
It sounds like cannabis growers.
It is. Oh, it totally is. Like craft tinctures, people get really intense, and like hydrosols and all of that. You've got your big distillation machines. It's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
It makes me think of maybe there should be a reality TV show about it.
I'd watch it.
Moonshiners or something. You should call it
I think there
Moonshiners.
is.
I know, I'm just playing. But there should be a reality show for growers, huh? Cannabis growers?
Yeah, I think that there is one. I don't think it depicts us well.
Which one is that? Cops?
Murder Mountain?
Oh yeah, Murder Mountain.
I do remember that.
I was going a little bit on the other side of things with
there was
with bad boys, what you gonna do?
Oh yeah, and then there was that in the 80s. That was the cannabis reality show for a while, I suppose.
Yeah, everybody tuned in. Who's gonna get caught tonight?
Is it in your city tonight?
It's in your city. Who's next? Fear the unknown.
Cops in Oklahoma City.
And they're catching people that are growing cannabis. The
More
evildoers.
often, I think that they were actually on meth.
Yeah, I think most of them were. They were probably using weed. They're using cannabis to just tone down a little bit, to actually be a little bit more sane.
to not eat someone's face off.
Yeah, so maybe the cops should have been actually like, hey, let's give these guys more weed.
It's probably a good call.
Yeah. I mean, that might have been what, like, sensationalized meth and all those, like, harder drugs. They're like, I gotta get my way on cops. I gotta get my 15 minutes of fame.
Yes. It's like the Judge Judy. Hey, man, I was on Judge Judy.
Great.
Yeah. You're proud of that? Well, some people, yeah. It's pretty funny.
I mean, you get money if you're on judge duty.
You do?
Like, yeah, both sides, I think, like, get their flat rate for being on the episode. I don't think it's much.
Wow, I've got wheels turning in my brain.
Yeah. I could be down with that.
This could be an income opportunity.
Yeah, let's go to court.
Are you guys going to have Herbage Court?
No, I'm not paying anybody. If Judge Judy wants to pay me, I'll go on there.
Oh.
And be like,
You
hey.
guys gonna start making crimes.
It probably
so you can go to Judge Judy.
It probably doesn't cover like a fraction of your actual legal fees.
Yeah.
They're probably like, here's a small consolation for your efforts.
But if we actually didn't do anything wrong, then I'll just represent myself, and Judge Judy, you just pay me a little cash. It's all good.
And she's going to sit there and she's going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
So as long as you can take it.
I can
But see,
handle that.
I get made fun of all the time.
Yeah, I had 3 older brothers growing up, so
Like, I have been training for this my whole
yes,
life.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, bring it.
Yeah, give me your worst. No, don't actually give me your worst.
Because listen, Judge Judy, I got some things to say to you. All right?
I think Anna's onto a different reality show right there. Like,
I'm sorry.
a reality show for the youngest siblings, and it's just like, how far can you take it? Like, you're like, I got this. I'm a younger sibling as well, and it's like, no, you don't get it. Like, you take the remote from me, that's fine. I'll stab you with a fork.
My brother used to threaten that if I like took food off of his plate. He would always like grab his fork and be like, I knew he would never do it, but it still scared me. I was like, no.
I learned from my uncle at a really young age, because he was the youngest of 6, that as soon as the food hits your plate, you just lick everything and then you put it down.
That's amazing. That's like serious survival mode. Man. Wow.
Yeah. So
you do what you gotta do.
It's so old school. It's like, get your hands off of my food right now, or I'm gonna kill you. I know I'm 3, but I've seen movies.
Yeah, are you the youngest, Anna?
Oh yeah, yeah. The youngest of my brothers is actually 11 years older than me, so I came a lot later.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm similar. My sister's 9 years older than me.
Oh wow,
So.
yeah. Yeah, I've always spent a lot of time with people older than me, so I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I feel like I learned a lot. Always fun.
Yeah, it takes an old soul to survive that.
To this day, I feel like I was just telling James, like, that's my life. The only time I go out is like with my boss and our work friends, and I'm like 27 years old. I feel like
It's so sad. I feel so bad.
It's not sad. I had fun.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's sad. I don't know.
No, it's not. No.
I feel like a lot of people my age are like big into the party scene, and I'm like, I'll go have a drink with my boss and our friends and talk about work probably.
Well, what we work in is fun. So
that's true.
Yeah.
It's like a fun break from the fun that we get to do.
The problem is that sometimes the fun doesn't stop and you realize you work too much. That's the problem with the cannabis space. I'm talking about myself.
You are describing all three of us here.
And all of us.
I think that's an accurate description of pretty much anybody that's doing anything in business in the cannabis industry right now. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You know, one of the cool things about it is to, I met a couple the other day that they'd never owned a business, never went to college, had 4 kids, raised their family on minimum wage. Okay? We all know that is ridiculous.
Wow.
And now they're very comfortable and they've made something for their family, you know, and they've created something that will last and sustaining, and they can take care of one another, and they have their medicine. You know, it's great. They may be busy, but they're busy at doing some good stuff.
Doing what they love.
Well, and honestly, if you've got 4 kids, you can manage a business. Like, if you can manage a household like that, you got it. Like, especially, like, you know budgeting at that point. You know, absolutely.
You know where to cut costs.
You're just like, yeah, I got 5 friends that are going to help me out for free. Great.
Yeah, it's like, that's some badass friends right there. You know, people kicking in the community. That's another thing that about the cannabis community. Come on, Jesse. You've been all around this country.
Do that.
What's the one thing, the glue, that you feel, the positive glue of cannabis in the community?
What's the positive glue of cannabis in the community?
For the people.
I think it's just, gosh, there's so much. Like,
I'll put you on the spot.
I know, right?
You're like, there's 10 things.
I know. I'm like, how do I make just one?
It's ridiculous. But I mean, think about community. If there were someone that was a friend of yours on the West Coast, and they needed something from me or from a friend of mine that was on the East Coast, I would do everything possible to make sure that would happen.
No, absolutely. I've already given your phone number out to like 3 people. They haven't used it, but
I did not tell you could do that.
Nope. But I knew that, like, because I was like, if you are in a pinch, like, she was coming out looking for land, and she was going to be driving around the entire state, and I'm like, if you ever find yourself in a pinch in some weird location, you call this number, you text this number, you tell him where you're at, and he will know someone probably within 20 miles of you, and he'll get you help. And she didn't use your number ever, she didn't need it, but I was just like, no, this is, you keep that in your phone.
Yeah, and I mean, that's an accurate description. I would.
Yeah.
I would help him out.
Like, he might not show up himself, but he'll know someone in 20 miles.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. That's for sure. I may not be a success at it, but I'll do my damnedest. So.
Right. No, and I think that's what, like, one of the things is that people start seeing the true nature of themselves with this plant, you know, and as long as you stick with the like people, you end up just fine.
I did an interview recently where we were talking about how cannabis affects us, and I'm a pretty anxious person, and James and I were actually just talking about, I live in my head. I'm always in my head. But when I smoke cannabis, it's like I start noticing the things outside of me, but also things that I hadn't noticed before about me. And I like to call them subtle energies. And it's like the things that are so small, you just don't notice them. I mean, maybe some people do, but for me, cannabis helps me notice them. Those little So I've learned a lot about myself through that, and just about my environment, and definitely helps with
Absolutely. That. Yeah. So Anna, what's your cannabis origin story? When was the first time you ever smoked?
I probably shouldn't say.
You don't have to have it on spot, that's fine.
Mom, are you listening?
Mom listening. Was it with your mom?
No.
Not your mom.
I was in high school. I had friends that they didn't even have to peer pressure me. I was like, let me try it. But I didn't enjoy it at the time. I was probably too young to really know how to. And so I didn't smoke again for a long time until I got out of high school, and in my teenage years picked it up again. And it really helped me with depression at the time. My dad had passed away the year before, and I feel like that and the friends that I made through cannabis really helped me get through that time. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's something about cannabis, and we're talking about the community and everything like that. People won't get it if they've tried it. Yeah. It's a medicine. And so you'll get it if you've used this as a medicine over time. This isn't an instant thing. You can't go in and inhale once and suddenly your world has changed. I know that most of us realize that, but some of us actually don't for some reason. And you can look at history, and that'll prove that to you by the laws and stuff. But anyway, I want to make sure. What I'm saying is that over time you find these things that you are interested in, and things that you notice, self-awareness about yourself and things like that over time.
Yeah.
And that's part of the medicine of cannabis. So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, it helps you let go of the things that are not important so you can focus on the things that are.
Yeah. I mean, I personally believe in therapy, and I think counseling is good for everyone at some point in their life. But cannabis is almost like your own personal therapist. Like, it helps you work through things in your head or in your heart. And I mean,
but at the same time, it doesn't for everyone. I mean,
that's true. Not everybody has the same.
Right. And that's the importance of also knowing the cultivar that's right for you, and knowing that, like, I think the more that we start getting into that legalization world and we can start actually doing research on this plant legally. I've been reading a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Israel, which is amazing information, because they are opening up research so heavily there. But the more we can start looking at all of these individual compounds within the plant, we'll start seeing, oh, maybe you shouldn't be having this terpene. You need to be over in this spectrum of stuff. And there are people who, like, I'm from the state of Nebraska. The governor here is pretty darn anti-cannabis. And one of the
pretty.
What's that?
I said pretty. That's kind of a that's a very big understatement for that guy.
But one of the things that he makes the claim of, and he gives the evidence of, because there is some evidence out there that for some individuals it can cause psychosis, and it's a very, very, very small one. But I read those things I read the studies, and I read the things that he puts out there into the Twitterverse or whatever. And I just go, well, but they're on the wrong medicine. Like, if you're dealing with antidepressants, you've got a whole spectrum. At this point now with the antidepressants, we even have a cheek swab test of determining what the best antidepressant for an individual is. I look forward to us having that for cannabis.
Yeah.
Just being like, okay, this is what's going to be bad for you. This is what your body needs right now.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That does make sense. Yeah. For the analytical thinker and things like that. I guess my where I come from is that because of that percentage, or because it does cause that one little bit of negative possibility, we're supposed to listen to you You're supposed to tell us what we can choose.
Right.
It feels like
what makes you the king of this universe? What makes anyone on this planet the king of the universe? To where you can tell me or Anna or Jesse or anybody down the street whether or not they can put something into their body.
Right.
Screw you.
That's not my country of freedom.
No, that is not. And let me tell you something. What they do, what that side does, is they pin it up. They say, oh, these potheads or these cannabis guys, they don't like America. Let me tell you something, buddy. I love America, and I love the people that live in the United States. But I also love this world, and I love this universe, and I love people. So, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I get wrapped up in it so big at that level that it's disgusting to me to watch, to sit and watch. And then we've got people that will sit and watch it and agree because that's who they listen to.
I mean, I feel like that information that he's like basing that on, it's important for people who are involved in the cannabis industry and patients to know that so that they can advocate for each other and for themselves. Because, you know, there are going to be negative side effects of cannabis. It's not going to be great for everyone every single time. But to weaponize it is what bothers me. Mm-hmm. To, like, take that information and use it to, I don't know, just, like, serve your own agenda.
Yeah. It's, you know, God, forgive me that I have weapons of mass destruction in my pot plants. You know? Come on.
I mean, I see the Adderall issue as being a way bigger issue than the cannabis issue.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
No kidding. And
like, is this really the hill that you're going to like die on?
What's got to be so frustrating is if you are a doctor and if you have any sense of, to educate yourself in this, and your hands are tied by laws. It's ridiculous. I'd hate to be in that situation where I knew I could actually help somebody and I can't because of law.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, it's not just law, not with all doctors. There are still doctors who it's not because of law.
Oh, yeah,
it's
I agree.
You know, their well was poisoned a long time ago with this plant. And I've talked to quite a few of them, like people I went to high school with. You know, we got into our little Facebook tiff or whatever years ago on it. And I'm like, you know, I don't need you in my life anymore. But I had a California from high school. She's in California and she's a doctor and she is out there preaching about how cannabis kills.
Well, let her waste her time.
California.
Oh my gosh. Like, what ground does she have to stand on there? I'm very curious to,
like, her
because there's like
mentality
no recorded deaths, right?
So her mentality is that people will consume cannabis thinking that they're fixing their ailments, and then they'll stop seeing doctors. And so they'll end up thinking that they are good because they're in their alternative medicine space and never actually see that maybe this cancer is growing or maybe this thing is happening. And so it kills because it makes people not have self-care. She defines self-care as having a good relationship with your doctor, seeing your doctor regularly.
But how often do you see that happen, though?
That is not a cannabis issue. That is a human issue.
Yeah.
That's the way that humans are. This is not.
They don't go to the doctor until they're on fire.
Yes. We all know this. We're bullheaded.
People embracing the natural remedies, like they are actively doing something. They're not just sitting at home like twiddling their thumbs. They're, you know, looking into the right herbs and the medicines that they need to take that are natural and that serve their body.
Right.
So I don't know.
Not only that, your body will tell you whether or not it is working.
Yeah.
If you are at a point to where you're not needing to be, in a padded room for a little while, to whatever, your body will tell you, and you know. whether or not it's working.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are aware enough, if you're in tune enough. Now, if
Or
you
sometimes
are...
you be patient enough.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes
It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get there, it's important to still visit your doctor.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you going to stop going to the dentist?
No.
I mean, I try to avoid them all, but
I do try to avoid the dentist, but that has nothing to do with natural medicine. It's more just fear-based.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
That was a bad example. I give you that. But it's like, what are you going to do? Stop going to a lawyer's? Oh, wait. Yeah, that's a bad example, too.
I hope I don't have to go to a lawyer either.
Again, you only show up when you're on fire.
Exactly.
You don't think I always need a lawyer in my back pocket, but it kind of helps if you do. At least know who you're going to call.
Right.
Yeah, so...
So, I mean, I know that a lot of people know Jesse, but, like, we didn't really introduce you.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse.
Hello.
Jesse, where are you from?
Well, that's a complicated question. I am from Omaha, Nebraska originally. So I grew up just north of all y'all. And I've been pretty nomadic for a majority of my adult life. So I've been popping all over. I call it bi-coastal ping pong. Just kind of popping over back and forth through the country.
You're my hero. I said, you're my hero.
Never stop running away from home. No. Yeah. So it's been fun, but like the whole time, the thing that kept popping up for me is, eventually I want to live in a place long enough that I can eat from the tree I planted. Because I've planted a lot of trees and then I go, or I've shown up in a place and I've eaten from those trees, but never am I really anywhere long enough to actually plant that tree and be there for 7 years later to eat from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, start and finish the process.
Yeah.
So now it's time?
I mean, like Oklahoma's kind of turning into that Goldilocks zone for me.
Yeah, it sure is. It's calling your name.
It is,
We'll see.
it's honestly crazy the difference in opinion I have about Oklahoma after moving away. Like, I'm glad I moved away from home for a little bit and I learned a lot and I grew a lot, but coming back here, I just realized like this is home. This is my roots, and you know, I'll always want to travel and see other places. Obviously, that's not happening right now, but I mean, Oklahoma is where I want to have my roots. It's where I want to stay, and I didn't used to feel that way before I moved away. I was like, oh, I grew up in Oklahoma and I'm just stuck here until I get out. And then I'm never going to come back. Here I am.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising whenever, you know, I moved away too and moved back several times. And it's pretty amazing whenever you actually discover culture in a place that you left. And it's like so cool. The Oklahoma is so awesome. It really is. It's not just okay.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, though. Discovering culture in a place that
that you left.
Before.
And it's like you know, people say don't look in the rearview mirror, but accidentally sometimes it's okay, I guess. But just look a little bit deeper, look a little bit harder.
Well, I think to begin with, I didn't have anything to compare Oklahoma to. I was like, this is what I've always known. And then I went away. When I came back, it was like, wow, like there's all of this that, you know, Colorado didn't offer me.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these opportunities and there's all of these great, cool places and scenes and cultures in Oklahoma that I just never noticed before because they were just always there. And there's a lot of new stuff too here in the last few years. So our little state is growing.
Yeah, and bringing Jesse with it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting growing up like in Nebraska because the Nebraska-Oklahoma culture used to be so intense. And so I grew up hating Oklahoma. I was just like Oklahoma, you Sooners, like all of that. Like you just grow up, and same with like Colorado. Like when you grow up in that, like at least in the 80s, I think especially, that football culture in the Midwest was so intense.
You guys were the corn-fed Cornhuskers.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember. Whenever
I'm not a football person at all, but yeah. But I definitely grew up with that like view of Oklahoma as being like, oh, they're all backwards. Like
I mean, it's kind of true.
Well, but then like I left. Like the first place I moved to was Illinois, and they were just like, wow, you're from Nebraska? Is this your first time with running water? And I'm like, how backwards do you think we are?
I moved to, it was the first time I moved to LA, and a lot of my friends, they kept asking me about Oklahoma and stuff. They thought we all had teepees. They thought we all walked around and, or grew up in teepees.
Or like,
I was like, really? I wish I would have, to be honest, but.
Like, well, there are some, but no.
Yeah. Horse and buggy is what I always got. Like, do you guys still actually use those? And I'm like, no. Like, maybe for like entertainment purposes.
Why in the world would we use?
Like, we have cars.
But at some point I just started embracing it and playing along with them and just being like, yeah, I miss Nebraska. Well, most of all, I miss my pet cow, Bessie. I mean, we were Jesse and Bessie. We were always running around, and I would just like tell these elaborate stories about Jesse and Bessie and.
Yeah, like what's the name of that show? The family, the one guy, he was from Nebraska, I think. Anyway, whatever. That made no sense. Yeah. Hey, listen to me. It's in my head, okay? I promise. It's there, and somebody knows what I'm talking about. So, anyway.
Sure. Trust you on that.
I grew up in a town about 10 miles from a little town called Bessie. I don't know if that,
the thing I'm going to have to get used to in Oklahoma is like, especially that you guys call it, was it Prague?
Prague? Yes. Is that what we call it?
Prague. Instead
not
of Prague.
I've always heard it Prague.
Have you?
Yeah, but maybe.
Oh, so it's James that calls it Prague.
No, it's not just me. No way. No. No, I've heard it that. I've heard it's called Prague. Right?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm in my head now. I can't figure it out.
Okay, anyway, what was your point?
Well, there's like little things that I have to get used to, but it's not that different than from where I am. I mean, like, I'm from 5 hours north of Oklahoma. There's a lot of similarities. And it took me a long time to realize that, like Anna was saying, like, you keep leaving home, but then in the end, you keep realizing maybe I need to go home. And I tried going home back to Nebraska for a while. And, I can't be in a state where cannabis is so criminalized, first of all, but it's just not my culture anymore. But it's close. It's like so very close. And, I talk to these people and they're like, Oklahoma, that's so far away. And I'm like, no, it's literally 5 hours. Like, we are extensions of the same culture. We're just a little tweaked from it. Right. Like, it's not that different.
Not that far at all.
And so, in a lot of ways, going to Oklahoma was a lot like going home for me, because it was just like moving around so much and getting to experience all of these different mentalities around the country. I find that Oklahoma actually, they're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's all like, no matter what I picked up from anywhere else, it's fine in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is that way. There are a lot of different, it's very diverse. I guess that's the term. I would say. I think some people would call it closed-minded and closed off. Certain areas are. I don't disagree with that, but there are some very interesting parts. Anyway, so we want to talk about Oaksterdam, because
you want to talk about Oaksterdam?
Yeah, because Anna.
I had my first week of class.
Anna's going to
so
Oaksterdam.
exciting.
Anna went back to school.
I know, I'm a student again. I'm so excited about it. But we had fun. Yeah, I wanted you to be able to like kind of talk about this semester and why it's so special with the equity program and everything.
Absolutely. And so first off, for those who don't know Oaksterdam, what we're talking about Oaksterdam University. Oaksterdam has been officially around since 2007. And we have been teaching people how to grow their own personal medicine, enter into the cannabis space. We've got business classes, horticulture classes, commercial extraction and manufacturing, bud tending. So if you want to go into that retail side of things, and we offer certifications on all of these things because we want to help create that standardization, that minimum. Well, actually, we want to raise that minimum standard around the country, but definitely just help expedite and elevate the entire industry across the country and even the world. Because at this point, I know that we have alumni from at least 40 countries. And so we've got change makers that are like over in the Philippines and over in Thailand, and those areas are opening up right now. And so we've got alumni that are there. And so it's just kind of this global network of people who, over the past now 14 years, have been the ones making change in your community. I actually looked up the alumni list from Oklahoma recently, and we've got alumni going back all the way to 2008 that currently live in Oklahoma.
Talk about staying ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Like, there have been people in your neighborhood who have been interested in bringing this plant to Oklahoma for over a decade before it actually came to Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm
legally.
sure longer than that.
It was there.
But, yeah.
It was there.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so when the pandemic happened and everything kind of shut down in California, because like we legally could no longer do or safely do our classes in person because we had people flying from all over the world coming into one room for a 14-week period of time, or we had the 5-day intensives, we ended up transitioning everything into the Zoom setting. And so that's the semester that Anna's taking. She just started this week. Mm-hmm. And we've now been doing it for a year. This will be our, I want to say, 5th cohort of the business that has come through on the virtual setting. And it's fun because you end up, I know you haven't really gotten a chance to meet other people in your class yet, but it's like, I get to look at the roster. I get to see the back end side of it. And I'm like, you've got people from all over the world, really, but all over the country right now. There's people in New Jersey, there's people in Oklahoma. And the segment that is the largest right now in your class, which is unique to most other classes, are San Francisco equity recipients. And so Oaksterdam University earlier this year was invited to work with the city of San Francisco to bring equity education. And what equity means is basically, so we've got inequality, equality, and equity. And oftentimes you'll see like that little cartoon trying to describe it, the difference between all of them. And so it's like you've got a fence and you've got 3 people with different heights, and you've got 3 boxes underneath. You've got one person who's really, really tall, and he can already see over the fence by himself. You've got one person who's about the fence height, but can't quite see over it. And then you've got one person who's really short. And so inequality is when one person gets all of the boxes and stands above everybody else. Equality is when each person gets one box. And so it just elevates everybody up a step. And so now you've got 2 people who can see over the fence, but you still got that one shorter person who can't. Equity is when the person who stands highest, who could already see over the fence and doesn't need support to see over the fence, shifts their box over to the shortest person, And so now you've got one person with 2 boxes to see over the fence, one person with 1 box to see over the fence, and one person who'd already been seeing over the fence. And so that's where equity is so that everybody stands on the same level so that we can have the same view.
I love
and
that.
That's what we're doing with the equity programming in California. We've got other areas that are starting to bring it in. I know Colorado has a great equity program that's forming. Illinois, Chicago area alone has close to $30 million available for equity education and equity business, all in cannabis, only in cannabis. New Jersey is launching a program. I'm sorry, not New Jersey. Massachusetts is launching a program. And so it's all about people who got disenfranchised. They were targeted specifically using cannabis as a weapon. And other areas that still had access to cannabis, but they weren't having the cannabis plant as a weapon to put them away, to put them into jail. And so we're looking at the people who had the greatest disadvantage, and we're allocating resources, and we're educating them, we're helping them start their businesses. And the thing about their businesses is that they stick to the neighborhood in which they live in. And they bring that business, that government funded business, into their neighborhood, and they hire the people of their neighborhood, and they bring jobs to areas where other businesses don't want to come. Mm-hmm. And when you have your own community creating business and creating jobs in your community, it ends up just shifting the entire dynamics. You have less crime that happens, you have less neighbor on neighbor violence, you have less people fighting over resources, and you keep your dollars local, and you support your community, and you build your community.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome program.
Yeah, definitely like a trickle down effect in a way.
It does. Yeah, it's very much just it's like a little ripple that happens, and not a little ripple, it's a big ripple that happens.
Yeah.
And it changes lives completely. It changes communities, and it's not taking away from anyone else to do so.
Yeah, it's just an unconventional way of thinking community, and I love it. It's, most people may look at that, or not most people, but some people may look at that and be like, that's just way too much change for me to even go into. But that approach right there is excellent, and I'm so happy that we were able to meet up with you guys and be able to let people know about what you all are doing.